All right, welcome back to the latest Mountain West Connection show. Bowl edition recap number 1. Check us out at mwcconnection.com. Everybody knows where to find us. Facebook, Mountain West Connection, all that good stuff. We got a trio of guests with us, or total people joining us if I can speak tonight. Myself, Jeremy Moss. Chris Hondres is with us as always.
Hey, I like how he calls us guests when when one's not co-hosting, the other one is, right?
That's why I made a mistake. That's why I corrected myself a little bit. I'm like, that's not right. And then the third person, Matt Kennerly, is joining us as well to talk about some football.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. I understood your point, and that's why I kind of stopped, paused momentarily. Like, that's not correct. The co-host, we are the typical 3 people who are hosting the show each and every week. Well,
You
yes.
should expect all 3 of us to be on at the same time all the time now.
No, well, if Matt wants to join us every time, he's welcome to join us. I'm perfectly fine with that.
This is the triple option podcast.
Do we need a Quinterback podcast at one point?
Oh, God. Well, you know what? Add another 2 people, it will be just as inefficient.
Not for Utah State. Ronald Butler does a pretty good job at the 5th QB spot.
Right, exactly.
But here we're talking about, we got bowl games, 4 games over the weekend. We'll splice in some news during the games, but the only news we have before really is not really news. It's expected. Chris is probably not too happy right now with his Kleenex is standing by. Running back J.J. is going to the NFL announced on Sunday, so there's that.
Yeah, see, I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, as upset as I am, at the same time, I think Boise State is well prepared to handle anything that's going to come their way. And the fact that we've always kind of had a good core of running backs, I mean, this is even before Ian Johnson. We had Brock, I forget what his last name is, but there's always been kind of a consistent standard for Boise State to have good running backs. And so I think we're going to be fine no matter what. I mean, Jeremy McNichols is listed as a running back. He's probably going to be slated.
Wait, hold on. You mean listed as the weapon?
The weapon, yes.
Not
Sorry,
the
the
running
weapon.
back, the weapon. Yeah, so there. Yeah, nothing surprise. I got some backlash on Twitter. He's gonna be a first-round pick. He's not gonna be a first. No, right. Matt's correct. He is the, I think, top 5 to 10th running back, and there was no first-round running back last year. So, yeah.
I don't think it's unreasonable for him to be a day 2 pick, though, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah, second. I'd say high second. His ceiling's probably second round, but probably third round. Top 100 pick is pretty good. He'll probably be top 75, I bet.
But see, looking at all the teams who actually need running backs right now, or even who don't, I mean, the number one person who comes to mind is, remember Robert Turbin, Utah State?
Yeah.
What round was he drafted?
Started tonight.
3rd or 4th round for the Seahawks.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th round for the Seahawks. He is a damn good backup running back. And even when he's in there and Marshawn Lynch, he's just as efficient as Lynch, if not even better.
Yeah. It's just it's not his fault, but the NFL doesn't. The running back's going away for a one main guy. So.
Yeah. In case any of you guys wonder, our guy Dan Kadar, who does the Mocking the Draft series for SB Nation, right now he has Ajayi listed 8th among running backs, and that was of December 9th. So make of that what you will.
Sure, and I think I was looking that up, and I think he has Ajayi number 70 overall. He's top 75 guy, I believe. So we're gonna have those posted pretty soon.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Late second, early third.
70 right now. He's listed as 71, and this includes underclassmen who is basically draft eligible people, whether they're gonna come out or not. So as of the first one, he's top 75. Which
hey, you know who the only person we should actually be listening to in terms of draft picks?
Who's that?
Yeah, who's
Any guesses? Mel Kiper Jr. Come on, the master.
Okay, sure. I'll listen to Dan instead. Dan says, I will take my roulette wheel and have a bunch of players on there and spin it and get within 5 picks of him. So of Mel Kiper, I should say. But let's go on to the games. We got 4 games. there wasn't a ton of excitement this weekend. Sorry to say, there were bowl games. It was a normal weekend for us, but what happened to Nevada? They scored 3 points. This is their worst output since they lost to Florida State last year when they scored, I think it was 7 points.
Are you really asking what happened in Nevada?
They averaged 30 points a game and they scored 3. So yeah, that's a legitimate question to ask. What the heck happened?
What happened is they had their worst running performance in at least 5, 6, 7 years. I'm looking back through CFB stats right now, and this is the first time going back to at least 2008 that they finished with under 100 yards on the ground.
Was that pre-Colin Kaepernick, maybe, or right around when he first started?
That's year 2.
That would have been, I think. Well, let's see who was the leading rusher in 2008. It was Vi Tua and Colin Kaepernick.
Vi Tua, yeah.
And they were both sophomores that year. So if the last time they got shut down this badly on the ground, I have no idea when that would have been, but it was a while ago.
Cody Fajardo, like I mentioned, kind of doing some pre-game stuff. I'm like, okay, we figured. I think even on the show, me and Chris were like, well, he doesn't necessarily have to throw well, which he wasn't, less than 50%, and he threw too many times at 29 attempts. But me and Chris were like, at least I was, if he runs reasonably well, they'll be fine. But he was missing guys wide open. It wasn't the receiver's fault not catching the ball. Richie Turner, Jericho Richardson were catching things, but he was overthrowing guys wide open in the end zone, deep balls. This is easily, I could say, almost his worst game ever.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it surprised me. It surprised me how bad Nevada really was playing, and this is not like easily. This is the worst game since, if I remember correctly, I think 2006. Yeah, 2006 was when the pistol was really first installed. And if I remember correctly, that was the last time I've seen Nevada just with that low of offensive putout. Like I think it was. I think you're right. It was 7 points. 2008 was last time it was 7 points. So I don't remember that game, but I do remember 7 points being scored against Boise State in 2006, and that was like a 27-7 game. So, like, it seemed as though within the game itself against Louisiana Lafayette, whose defense, by the way, is not that great.
Nope.
Absolutely, And I've seen a couple Lafayette games this year. I don't know how many you've seen, Matt.
I saw maybe a half of their game against Boise.
Yeah. I've seen them a few times, and there are always times where they look really good offensively and then look really bad offensively, but defense is never really their strong suit. So the fact that Lafayette was just shutting them down, and then to top it off, it was just Nevada wasn't doing anything to help themselves. It just led to complete disaster.
There were 2 parts in this game where Nevada had it just because their defense played well. Reasonably well. Yeah, Terrence Broadway started off, 13-13, was 13-15 at the half with 1 Hail Mary, but he wasn't, like, moving the ball. They only had that 1 touchdown. Because that first drive, they just mowed down and, like, oh, this is easy. We'll score in 3 minutes. But there's a point in second half where I figured, they're going to come back. There's 2 key points in this game where Nevada could have had their chances. When, I don't recall who did it, but there was a sack and a fumble recovery, and they stall. And they're down 10-3. In the second half, in the third quarter, I think it was. And then there was also the other chance where they were down 10-3, or no, 13-3. Yeah, 13-3. They're at a 3rd and 10, and I think it would have been about a 50. Your field goal kicker's pretty good. They're about a 52-yarder, and Brent Zuno might have been able to make it, but 3rd and 10, they decide to go deep. If you're going for it on 3rd and 10, you're going to go for it on 4th and 10 if you miss it. But it was just a terrible play call, terrible pass. Why not try to get your kicker 5 yards? Maybe you'll get lucky, get a first down. Try a 47-yarder. You're down by 7 points. There was just 2 points a game where they had a chance to maybe make something of it, but any chance they had, they just fumbled it miserably.
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers are a little bit deceiving because even though the Cajuns outgained the Wolfpack nearly 2-1 as far as total yards, But I think that I would make the argument that the front four actually played really well for Nevada. You know, Brock Hacking had a sack, and he had 3 tackles for a loss. Ian Seau had a sack. Lenny Jones had a sack. So you know they were able to move the ball, but when the Cajuns got down into the red zone, they weren't able to punch it in. They were 1 of 4 as far as turning red zone opportunities into touchdowns. It's just that the offense wasn't really able to get anything going for them.
Yeah, it could have been worse. A 30-yard, 35-yard field goal. What's the heck with them trying to field goal at the end of the game too? Come on.
Sad field goal.
It was. They missed it, but I don't know what to say. But this is just a terror. This is their, like I said, worst performance. Is that what did you say? 08, that game with Colin Kaepernick, or 06?
Actually, 2009 when they started out the season on a 23-0 loss versus Notre Dame.
There's that. The Oregon lost from 2 years ago. Florida State last year. But the Florida State game, I think they had to put in a backup quarterback partway through, and the Seminoles just tore them apart and say.
So anyway, speaking of that, sack though, I assume you watched the whole game, Matt?
You know what, I rolled out of bed about halfway through, so I did not see most of the first half.
Okay, but you did see the hecking sack on Broadway.
Yeah, I did.
Man, oh my goodness, that's one huge that's one huge plus that's going to come back. Is this Hecking's last year? Or is he going to?
I believe. Oh, I think he's a senior.
He is a senior. He's a senior. Is he have a redshirt senior left?
That's an excellent question. I would guess no, but don't hold me to that.
Because if that was his last game, man, I will tell you what a game to go down on just laying just that huge hit.
Yeah, it's gonna give the people who watch the tape something to think about.
Yeah, and so I guess my last question then would be, Fajardo I think is a senior this year, right?
Yeah, he's moving on.
Is he though? I mean, he's been on and off this year, and we've seen when he's running the ball well. When we see he's running the ball well, everything's clicking. But I haven't really seen him pass the ball as well this year as I've seen him in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I have a really hard time seeing him as a quarterback on the NFL level because he's kind of regressed 2 years in a row, taking maybe small steps back. My inclination is to say that he's probably just going to follow Brett Smith to the CFL if he does anything.
Arena Football League.
Yeah.
Hey, you know the other thing actually is he could go into the EFAF, right?
The what now?
The European Association of American Football, or something like that. It's basically there's now, and I started reading about this ever since I kind of watched the Europe Bowl over the summer. But there's a few countries in Europe that actually have their own American football leagues.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, I mean, that could be another route if he still wants to play and kind of maybe revitalize what they're coaching everywhere. Who knows if they got pistol offense, but maybe he can bring it to the game.
I mean, I think he'll find a place to play somewhere because I think he's a good enough athlete. I just, I'm trying to think of whether he would be capable of like doing a position switch if he wanted to play in the NFL. But you might know better than I would whether he's capable of like switching to tight end or receiver or something like that.
Yeah, who knows? So I guess that's all we can say about this. Good job, Louisiana Lafayette, for winning in essentially home field again, and Nevada for stinking up bowl season once again. So, any final thoughts on the New Orleans Bowl?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay. Outside of the fact that we both have to go there next year.
Yeah, if I can get enough money, sure.
So, next bowl, New Mexico Bowl, the Gillivan New Mexico Bowl, where would you say that Utah State was vigilant in their win over Utah?
I think I mentioned it in the comments posts yesterday that the Vigil brothers were the danger. They were the ones who knocked.
Oh my goodness. this was fun in the sense that I was actually watching this game from the press box.
Lucky you.
Was that Jeremy?
I'm back, yes.
Just in
This
time.
was completely different than last time. My whole computer shut down, and I got a random message saying, we're restarting your computer.
Well, at least you made it back.
I am back. So
We
continue.
just got into the Utah State UTEP New Mexico Bowl, and if you missed out, I started off with a bad Vigil pun.
I'll go back and listen.
Oh.
No, go ahead, continue. Sorry, go with your thoughts on that New Mexico Bowl game.
No, we just started talking about it. Quite literally, we had nothing to talk about, and then you just popped in.
Okay, we're back. New Mexico Bowl. So you're at the press box. Your bad. What was your bad pun? Why don't you just tell it again so we can get it twice?
Oh, basically, I would say Utah State was vigilant in their win.
That's not bad. Both those. Hey, what is it? Zach won player of the game. Nick scored a touchdown. So that's good.
I just made a couple Breaking Bad references.
Hey, our tweet. We had Ron down there. CBS Sports. We had a tweet of the game. That was nice of them to put it on their website.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron, for taking over the blog Twitter feed while you're there and giving us some more, exposure by making it to the tweet of the game.
Go punters. Okay, but seriously, this game, it was this. I would equate this game to almost a Wyoming game. That's 20-7 for Utah State over Wyoming. Last month? Not much offense. Kent Myers did what he did, having an okay game. I did like Jamil Showers chuck the ball up. That was 20% of the yards. That 50-something yard pass he threw.
That was almost 50% of his yards, by the way. That 53-yard touchdown pass, he had 126 yards total.
Yeah, and they had 270 overall.
I mean, that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, this is exactly what we expected. A defensive game for Utah State. They had one offensive touchdown, or two, I believe. Vigil and Myers. But Kent Myers didn't play well. We did see the Quinter back officially with Ronald Butler in quarterback, and that was kind of exciting. That was probably the most exciting thing of the game. He comes in and gets that 61-yard and nearly throws a fade for a TD.
Yeah, it was even though that was there must have been a penalty on that play because it shows that he didn't actually attempt to pass in the game.
Correct, there was a pass interference. But I don't know. You got anything else to add, Matt? This game was kind of just blah.
Yeah, I mean, it was all about the defense on this one. They did exactly what they needed to do. They shut down Aaron Jones. They held him 3.5 yards to carry. That'll get the job done.
Yeah, there is not much defense. Played interception. Vigil, I don't know. It's just Aaron he had 88 yards, but he said 3.5. Matt Wells is being their coach next year, so that's promising. So since this game there's nothing really to discuss, what's the quarterback situation you guys think for Utah State next year?
I think you kind of have to go with Daryl Garrettson. If I was Matt Wells, I would stick with the guy who is more or less the incumbent, since Chucky Keaton, I think, is going to be moving on unless there's been some news about the medical redshirt.
No news on that, but there was a question at Gary Anderson's press conference at Oregon State about bringing in a fifth-year senior. That's the only news I've had.
I wonder who they could be talking about.
No, they mentioned Keaton by name specifically.
So
yeah, I mean, Garrettson didn't do anything to really lose the job. He just got hurt.
Plus, he could throw the ball.
Exactly.
Well, I think Myers can throw the ball. He just needs to learn how to develop his routes a little bit more so that he can toss a little bit deeper. But if you look as a whole, I mean, how many games did Garrettson start?
I think 2 this year.
2? So within those 2 or 3 games that he actually played, more attempts, more completions than Kent Myers. So he was 91 of 135, 1148 touchdowns. That's in, like I said, 2 or 3 games. So he was just, it seemed as though he was just launching the ball.
And he played last year as well. He played half the season.
I feel like 2 or 3 games is too many. No, he played 5 games, dude.
He did? Oh, he played 5 games this year?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't sure I knew. Well, I guess all the injuries were front-loaded for Utah State, I guess.
either way, 5 games. And like I said, decent games. 121, 268, 321, 298, 132. He's got to be, like Matt said, he's got to be the guy next year.
And I mean, I think whoever's under center is definitely going to be helped by the fact that they're still going to have Hunter Sharp, and they're still going to have Joe Natson. And, both of those guys, I mean, Hunter Sharp was pretty quiet, but JoJo Natson had himself a pretty good game.
But Sharp, when he was with Garrison, he was the guy.
Yeah.
He was the downfield threat. So if you look at his numbers, like I mentioned this plenty of times, Hunter Sharp's numbers drastically declined with Kent Myers at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting, too, that Utah State, I think, had their second best or third best game of the year on the ground against a pretty decent UTEP defense. And they got, all sorts of contributors. Myers actually led the team in rushing. Butler had the Wildcat going on for a little while. And then, you got guys like Natson and Joe Hill. So, they may not have a guy like they used to, when they had Kerwin Williams or Robert Turbin or something like that. But I think they've got enough guys on that offense to, if they can keep Garrison healthy, that they'll definitely be a title contender, and they should be a more competent-looking offense next year.
Yeah, they will, and I think LaJuan Hunt will be their running back because true freshman, came on late, did okay at times. He played most of the year, but he had a big game versus Hawaii. Wyoming did pretty good, and so he's going to be a guy who's probably going to be the starter next year. He had 540 yards as a true freshman. It's not too bad. So he's a handful of receptions.
Oh, so one last thing, because I noticed that it didn't get brought up in this game. It wasn't in the Vegas Bowl, and it wasn't in the Potato Bowl. What was with the ticker on ESPN for the New Orleans Bowl? Did you guys all notice that too?
I did. Yeah, I noticed it in the first game. Like, it looked okay. It looked more sleek, but with it stacking the two logos on top of each other, took up a bit more space than I'd like. But then they switched. Yeah, they switched. I didn't notice it until midway through the New Mexico Bowl that they actually made the switch to go back to what they used all year. And I think, and even during the late game versus Bowling Green in South Alabama, and it was the Raycon Bowl, that was the same. They had the
they
same.
had the old logo on it.
Yeah, I don't know if there was outcry, complaints, or who knows. That's kind of odd to change it that quickly, but we'll see when there's games tomorrow on Monday. Yeah. So let's go to the game you're at, Chris. How was that Las Vegas Bowl?
It was fine, except for the fact that it was one-sided, severely.
I had a case of deja vu watching that game.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
So Matt and I were either commenting on the game thread or we were talking to each other on Twitter. I forgot what it was, but I was like, he was like, "This is exactly like what happened last year." I'm like, so basically we should never get credentials again for the blog, or what? Oh, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and do this because he totally deserves it. Mark Wallington, the PR guy.
UNLV at football SID.
Yeah, the UNLV SID. Thank you once again for getting us credentials. And I know, we're part of SB Nation. We're a blog, and I'm not sure, we fill the requirements, but it's always very appreciative when one of us gets the opportunity to go out to those games.
It is, because we've been told quite a few times, so getting some yeses is nice to throw in there.
Yeah.
So what did you see in this game? Because most people know I'm a Utah guy, so I'm like, okay, my Utah win, that's pretty cool. This was a few things that people were saying that people are like, oh, this is the Mountain West is no good. Rams are overrated. Like, you'll see all the Boise fans who commented after I put Chris's recap on Facebook. What are you saying now? You guys, the Rams got beat out pretty bad. I'm like, well, first of all, for people who know or don't know, Utah's defense is pretty good. I'm assuming it's very good. It was probably the best in the Pac-12. They have Nate Orchard's All-American who broke multiple sack records. And I even said during the game that it'll come down to if the Rams offense can do anything. Rashard Higgins did his thing, 110 yards and 7 catches. But my main thing was if the Utah offense shows up, this could get out of hand. And they showed up for probably the third time all year, and it happened to be against
I would
this
actually
team.
put Utah's defense as the third best in the Pac-12.
Well, it's up there, but it's very, very good. And Nate Orchard was giving out the Pac-12 has some award where the offensive lineman give out an award to the best defensive player, and they gave it to Nate Orchard, and he's a first-team All-American across the board, and so he's a big deal. But it's regardless, we all know Utah's defense is very good, and third in the Pac-12, just still really good.
So yeah, and Mark Ziegler never ever. Yeah, I swear he was intentionally trolling at the end of yesterday's game.
He does it all the time. You shouldn't pay during football season. You should just ignore him.
Period. So this is the few takeaways from this game. One, somehow Colorado State's defense made Travis Wilson a competent quarterback.
How? He wasn't even that good though. He was 17 of 26 with a touchdown and interception. He wasn't even that good.
Yeah, and then 11 carries for 91 yards after that.
Sure,
and the long run was an 18. So you tell me. I'm telling you, he was. I really, really, really wanted my MVP vote to go to Devontae Booker, because Booker, he had 26 carries, 162 yards, so that's averaging 6. But I swear half his plays were just dive plays that there were so many missed tackles. He was just getting away from the defense, like all the time. And that's what it felt like throughout the game for all the teams. I mean, Utah rushed 359 yards on Colorado State. They found Colorado State's weakness, which is no coach, and which means rush defense. Sorry, rush defense. They don't have rush defense, and they just exposed it. I mean, we saw this earlier. Jay Ajayi had 217 yards versus Colorado State earlier in the season, and Air Force rushed 250 on them.
New Mexico 301, Boston College 239. They were middle of the pack. They give up a lot too many touchdowns. They give up. This is after the Utah game, but 5 yards a carry and 22 touchdowns coming into the bowl game, 27 after.
Yeah. So I mean, Devontae Booker, this was his 700-yard rushing game this season. Buck Allen from USC is the only person in the Pac-12 with more 100-yard rushing games in the Pac-12. So, I mean, they were just letting it get away. And what was funny was a horrible punt really started this game off. Because after that punt, then Utah decided to play Boise State a little. Now, okay, we were arguing up in the press box about what this play was. Both of you watched this game, right?
For the most part, yeah.
I was flipping back and forth between this and the New Mexico Bowl.
Okay, so did you watch the trick play by Utah, not by Colorado State?
Play?
Yeah,
where 10 and 11 people touched the ball on offense.
Okay, so the guy from the lady from Rivals was trying to describe it as a double reverse pass. Amanda Van Buskirk was calling it like a double reverse pass. There was some other guy who was down with us trying to figure out what it is. So
it was a double pass back. That's all it was. It wasn't no reverse. It was a handoff double pass back to throw down the field.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. The way you described it was very, very simple. But I basically had to take a look, of course, because our guys over at SB Nation would somehow describe it really, really well. And it was a flea flicker, double reverse pass, and then tossing to the receiver for the touchdown. That was the most accurate way to describe it.
Yeah, I put the GIF up. It didn't quite work, but yeah, it's you're in Vegas, man. Like they said, gamble.
And then Colorado State responded with a reverse pass back to Garrett Grayson for a 39-yard touchdown reception. So I mean, they got the ball going. That was the Charles Lovett pass. So they were doing trick plays. If Colorado State pulled out their whole offensive playbook, they could have remained in this game. The problem was they were still trying to rush. At the half, they only had 8 rush yards. And when they came out in the second half, they were still trying to rush the ball.
Well, here's the thing. This is also Utah's probably best offensive performance all year. This was their best game by far. I don't care. They're playing Colorado State. They sneaked by a bad Colorado team. This was by far.
I totally get that. They only scored 10 points against Arizona. You know, this is a team who only scored 21 points against USC, 29 points against Oregon State, who has a horrible defense.
They can't score. My team, I watch them out. They can't score.
They lost to Washington State
after being up 21-0 in the first half.
And Fresno State fans were like, "Oh yeah, this is the Utah we knew." Blah 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 blah. No,
bullcrap. Matt, you can chime in, Matt, but this is a different team than that week because nobody knew who Devontae Booker was a week 2.
Yeah, it's just Utah's front four did exactly what they needed to do, and they dominated Colorado State's offensive line. It wasn't like Garrett Grayson was dropping back 50 times because they were forcing a lot of 3-and-outs. By my count, the Rams had 5. Their first drive went 3-and-out. Utah went down for touchdown. Then they went 3-and-out again, and then Utah went down for another touchdown. So by the time they started, trading scores later in the first quarter, they were pretty much playing catch-up the whole time. And, Colorado State only didn't even get into the red zone at all, first of all. And then they were 1 of 10 on third down. So...
And a missed field goal that could have made it 21-14.
Yeah.
21-13 at some point.
My biggest thing about this game is, once again, why are you committing so much to the run?
0.6 yards per rush.
0.6, and my other
sacks, but
this game was how many times? Guess how many times Garrett Grayson was sacked in this game?
3 times.
Oh wow! You were paying attention.
Yeah, I looked it up. I'm looking at the numbers right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was only sacked 3 times, and it felt like so much more because he was always hurried.
Pressured. Yeah.
And then when they were trying to commit to the run, I mean, you end up having drives of 2 yards, minus 6 yards, 11 yards, 6 plays, 20 yards, which is barely 2 first downs.
And the defense gets tired because you can't come in every 90 seconds.
Two drives of 0 yards that resulted in a 3-and-out and a 2-play interception.
Well, here's the thing too on Utah's rush defense. They gave up 3.7 yards per carry on the year, so we knew running the ball would be difficult. But they didn't run very much, anyways. Even when they're in the first quarter, when it was a lot of scoring, they weren't running enough. And then with Kyle, we've all known what Utah's done in the past with Kyle Whittingham and those guys. They'll have time to prepare, a couple weeks because this is an early bowl game. But it just seemed like they had to prepare. And the coaching, is there a big difference because of Baldwin wasn't able to make any adjustments or anything? What?
You have to think that had something to do with it.
Some of it, yeah. With Dave Baldwin, where 21-10 the first quarter wasn't terrible. Being down 2 touchdowns at the half, you're by no means out of it. But their adjustments weren't there. They had to throw the ball a lot, and they were not taking too much time off the clock or saving their defense. Because in the second half, here's the thing: they had a chance to drive down. They missed a field goal. Like you said, look at these 3-and-outs. They had 2 drives that were more, and you don't even count the last drive in the game. They had 2 drives that were more than 3 plays in the second half.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt, because you're kind of quiet right now.
Yeah.
So I was at the game and I was kind of watching and trying to figure out if there were any halftime adjustments made. And I know you were switching back and forth between the New Mexico Bowl and this bowl. Was there any halftime adjustments made for Colorado State, like any whatsoever? Because I didn't see any.
Well, I mean, I think they were just compelled to start throwing the football coming out of the half because I'm looking at the play chart right now. And, on their first drive after they forced a Utah punt, they ran D. Hart twice, got a first down. And then after that, it was a lot of Garrett Grayson and Rashard Higgins. And I guess my only thing is that, Jeremy's already mentioned the missed field goal that Roberts had. But right before that, there was 3rd and 9, and it was a strip sack by Nate Orchard, and
Of
the
course, it
Rams
was Nate Orchard.
recover. But you have to wonder whether they might have made that field goal if it were a little closer, because as soon as they miss, Utah goes right down the field, makes it a 3-score game, and that game is pretty much over at that point. And that's when you start getting into the fourth quarter. Grayson on first down, first down throw, and then incomplete pass on the next first down, and then fumbles. Utah picks it up, scores again, and they're up by 4 scores. So I would say, yeah, they did try to adjust. They tried to put the ball in their playmakers' hands, and it just didn't work out for them.
Here's one thing too. I was looking at Bill Connolly, like he put up kind of his numerical type deal. This is quite interesting. Well, the Rams average 5.1 yards per play. They haven't averaged under 6.1 in the past 10 games, but this is the most glaring thing where Utah made some adjustments early on in this game. Here's what he quote in here. After gaining 54 yards in the first five first down snaps, Colorado State gained 68 yards on the next 18.
Yeah.
So 54 yards in its first five, and this is all first down. So 54 yards in, because that's kind of odd the way it's written, but yeah, 54 yards in its first 5 first down attempts or plays. 68 in the next 18. They started off fine for a little bit, but then nothing. Completely nothing.
Yeah, I mean, they had their chance right after halftime, and they just missed it. Now it's pretty much the game.
Do you have anything else to add about this game? Coaching stuff? Because how sad is it, too, to get those, even though it's technically a technicality, you're all fired, essentially.
We're all
Well,
fired. Hey, Matt, guess what? We're fired.
dang. At least I can put this on my resume. But no, I mean, as far as coaching stuff, I don't know if you've been following Twitter at all, but there's been a lot of speculation about Scott Frost being very quiet about the possibility of coming to Fort Collins.
Yeah, him and, like I said, Pat Narduzzi had an interview, although now he's being interviewed at other places.
Have you heard the latest, though?
No, I have not.
Somebody mentioned it. I think it was our guy Josh Carvalho who retweeted it. Mike Bobo might be a candidate at Colorado State.
Run the dang ball, Bobo.
And you know he will.
Hey, you know what? For D Hart returns next year. You get SEC offensive coordinator with an SEC type player. Oh, there's going to be things done.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially since Grayson's going to be moving on after this year, they're going to need to lean on that running attack to kind of
Absolutely, between Hart and Gerald.
Yeah, exactly.
So, my question is Baldwin going to be retained as a coach at all after that?
I mean, considering how successful the team has been on offense in the last couple of years, I'd be really surprised if it wasn't.
One of the things that kind of disappointed me about his post-game interview was that he just kept repeating, like he apologized for the game, but he just kept repeating that nobody can take away 10 wins from this team. And true, absolutely that's true, and absolutely they should be proud of what they accomplished. You can't settle. You can't settle for, well, this was great, but the ending sucked.
No, I mean,
it's like watching The Lord of the Rings, right? You know what's going to happen, and you're like, oh, this movie's epic, and then like the ending just keeps on going over and over and over again. You're like, please let it stop. It was such a good movie before.
So I dropped out apparently, which is weird. Not weird, but you get in the that's weird too. Like, oh, we can't, like you said, 10 wins is 10 wins, but still, is he gonna get the job, or is he pretty much out because of how bad the bowl game was? Him or Dave Baldwin or Marty English, do they have a chance now?
I mean, I think I wouldn't surprise me if they went with the outside hire, because I read something earlier where that the program didn't seem to have much trepidation about doing that. And if the next guy leaves, like Jim McElwain leaves, I don't think they're going to be too fazed by it, because they know that they can bring those guys in that they have a good foundation, that they're getting the on-campus stadium, and that they'll be able to build with whoever replaces them.
Would it be best to get Bobby Gonzalez to come in since he played at Colorado State? Because you guys mentioned Scott Frost, but for those, me and Chris mentioned this before, maybe you and me and Matt as well, but Frost isn't running the Oregon offense. Yes, he has the name. He's playing with the high-tempo offense, but he's 2 people removed from that offense. And so I don't like Scott Frost is a good name you guys mentioned before I dropped out. It's been lingering around, but he hasn't been interviewed. Like you have Pat Narduzzi, Bobby Gonzalez. You have the Notre Dame running backs coach interview, not involved.
You missed out. You missed out. You dropped out at the right time. Matt said Mike Bobo's interviewed for the job.
He has as well. Yes, the Georgia offensive coordinator. But would it be Gonzalez be the best guy since he played wide receiver with the Rams? Running that Mississippi State offense, or he's running the offense.
Maybe. I put my money on getting someone from somewhere else, not only someone like Frost or Bobo, but I'm looking at the latest from the Loveland Reporter Herald. And they also mentioned Texas's defensive coordinator, Vance Bedford, as a possibility.
Okay. I'm just not laughing at you, but that seems like an odd choice. Does he have connections to Colorado State?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
I don't think so. I get your point about who cares if he leaves. Because Baldwin's coached forever. Marty English has been around as well, so if they're going to stay, who cares if Scott Frost leaves or Bobby Gonzalez comes and leaves or Narduzzi comes and leaves. But what do they need? Because there's offensive and defensive coaches in the mix. Because Narduzzi's a pretty big name in Michigan State.
Yeah, he's a huge name, and he's wanted elsewhere outside of Colorado State.
Pitt as well.
A bigger program comes calling. I think he would take a bigger program.
We'll look out for that because I heard there's possibility of a hire being introduced or mentioned tomorrow on Monday, or whenever you listen to this Monday. So we could be wrong. There could be a hire by the time somebody listens to this, but as of Sunday night, that's kind of where we're at. They're interviewing all over the place.
Former noted blogger Jeremy Mouse being introduced as Colorado State head coach. I mean,
I will take that nearly. I'll take the Tony Sanchez package of being on the low end of payment for $500,000 a year.
So last game of the game,
Yeah.
last game of the game, last game of the day. Sorry, I'm tired.
Air Force rowing the boat and beating Western Michigan easily. Not even close.
Were they rowing the boat or were they flying the plane?
Well, no. Western Michigan's motto is row the boat.
I know. That's what I said.
Oh,
And
okay.
Jalen Robinette wasn't having any of that.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
We had a Weston Stillhammer sighting.
Yeah,
So you know what my favorite part? So this is just making all Notre Dame fans just super excited as hell right now. Who had the highest? What position had the highest amount of rushing yards yesterday?
Overall in every bowl game?
No. In this game.
Well, the running backs, right?
Not the running back.
is the fullback.
Fullback, yes.
Oh, Shane DeVerne.
Shane
Yeah.
Shane DeVerne. Fullback.
Oh, yeah, his touchdown looked like his 55-yarder. He was about to tumble and fall right before he scored.
Yeah, that guy was rumbling.
Like, I'm out of breath. Help me.
You just saw, and you just watched that touchdown. You just thought every single person in the Big Ten just got overly excited. I mean, like they were watching an Enzyte commercial.
Oh man.
The game, it was close. The big turn in the game was the fumble, 60-yard fumble recovery for a TD by Dexter Walker, because it was 23-17, 31-17 in the fourth quarter. That pretty much sealed it. But
by the way, when that fumble happened, I was on my way driving home from the Vegas Bowl at that point. Guess who was announcing on the radio?
Ooh.
So, former WAC coach of one of your guys' teams,
Pat Hill?
Pat Hill.
Oh well, I know Dan Hawkins was on the TV.
Dan Hawkins was on the TV. Pat Hill was on the radio. It was like they had an all-time WAC Mount West broadcast.
Like magic right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat Hill's been doing a handful of things. Yeah, you got the fullback in the game.
And his mustache sounded exactly like I thought it would.
Nothing, because you can't hear the mustache.
Oh, it talks and it's magical.
Uh, I don't know about this game. They won pretty handily, scored a lot of points. They held Zach Terrell as was the MAC rookie and player of the year to 61 yard. Or no, that's their quarterback.
And
Excuse
now
me.
you're talking
Yeah,
about
Zach Terrell was an All MAC conference quarterback. Jarvion Franklin, the freshman,
Yeah.
they held him to 26 yards.
Foolish for me for thinking a running back had the most rushing yards.
Yeah,
Well, no, but
2.2 a carry.
they mentioned on the broadcast, like in the second half, that he may not have been 100%, and that he was kind of, I don't know if I want to say evasive about it when they were asking him before the game, but I guess he came into the game a little bit nicked up, so that might explain why Air Force was able to really clamp down on him.
at the same point, though, you saw the whole body language, you saw the mentality. Western Michigan, PJ Fleck rowing the boat, whatever, and that the one turning play that I saw, even before the fumble, was or maybe it was after the fumble touchdown. It was Western Michigan trying to go for it on 4th and 1. And opting to throw the ball instead of using Jarvion Franklin to just run it down the middle. And yeah, that could be because Franklin was nicked up, as you said, Matt. Or what I think that is definitely possible is they weren't getting anything. They were not getting any rushing yards whatsoever on Air Force. I mean, they were held to 79 yards total.
Yeah, I think that might have been when it was 31-17 Air Force, kind of midway through the fourth quarter. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 4th and 2, and they threw the ball, and then Air Force went down and scored again after that.
Killed the game.
But, they kept bringing up the fumble that Air Force, the scoop and score. But, don't forget that right before that, actually, was, Western Michigan had a punt return for a touchdown that was wiped out because of a penalty. So when you consider that, plus the touchdown that Air Force eventually scored, that's a 14-point swing right there. If Western Michigan had been able to, hold on to that touchdown, you're talking about a 1-score game at that point, as opposed to a 2 or 3-score game.
But it was one of those things. Just in this game in general, Western Michigan brought it close, 23-17. But yeah, I kind of figured at halftime, the score being at 20-10. I figured the Air Force would have to keep scoring to make sure they won. But I kind of figured that the game was over at that point.
You know what my favorite part of this game was?
The famous Idaho potato.
Close. Halfway. The guy holding the umbrella over the famous Idaho potato. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, let's not forget about the commercials.
Oh, yeah. And the graphics of the Spuds knocking each other out with the Mountain West and MAC helmets on.
And the Spud cheerleaders.
Yeah, that too. It's.
So I have to ask, is the famous... we talk about ridiculous bowl games and names and everything like that. People argue there's too many bowl games and all that stuff. I feel like outside of the Rose Bowl, outside of the Sugar, outside of the big bowl games, I feel like the Potato Bowl embodies what a bowl game really is.
Is it because of the name, maybe? Because it's, even though famous Idaho potato is a brand, it's not the Camellia Raycom Bowl, or it's not the Royal Purple Vegas, or the ever-longing the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. It's not. It's just kind of like a short name that you don't know it's a brand, but it's really a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a step up from the Humanitarian Bowl.
Micron PC Bowl.
Or the MPC Computers Bowl.
You know what? Think about this. How awesome is it that this bowl game is now just finished its 17th bowl game? It's 18th. It's
Holy crap.
We've almost had 20. It's going to be 20 years old in 2017. We're going to have a 20-year-old bowl game in Boise, and little kids are going to be like, I want to go to the Potato Bowl. Okay, fine. Nobody wants to go to the Potato Bowl, but I mean, it's
No, they'll say they're going to the Potato Bowl.
Okay, well, guess what the attendance for this game was,
it was bad.
Is there a negative number involved with this?
No. It was something like in It was like something like 15 or 16,000, right?
It was 18,223.
Is that
Yeah.
paid attendance? Paid?
That is the attendance that is listed on this PDF I'm looking at, right?
It's got to be paid
Yeah.
attendance. There's no way there's
But
18,000
late
people
in the
there.
game, there were like entire sections that were empty. So
No, that was no.
Weather doesn't help either. The rain.
Well, yeah, between the rain and then the snow that was already there, it was just like basically the people who went to that game outside of Boise locals was everybody from Mountain Home Air Force Base.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you got the Air Falcons in town.
So yeah, that easily was probably the lowest game in Potato Bowl history.
Will there be more people at this game or at the Bahamas Bowl?
I would think there's probably going to be more people at the Bahamas Bowl.
But how many people are in the Bahamas, really?
There's quite a few, I think.
I don't know. I don't know my what is it? What would you say? My census to the Bahamas, but and they don't really see American football too often, so just a thought.
I mean, they get people down there for the basketball tournaments, right?
I guess. Sure. I'll go with you on that.
So by the way, so that 18,000 is the second lowest all-time attendance at the Idaho Potato Bowl ever. The lowest being the first year of the Humanitarian Bowl, Cincinnati versus Utah State. That had 16,289.
What year was that?
That was
99?
1997.
That was with John L. Smith there at Utah State. Okay.
Yeah,
was
that
trying
was
to think.
John L. Smith, Utah State. And
You would think that's the first year they've been to a bowl game in forever. There would have been a lot of Utah State fans, but
so, but like I said, that's the second lowest attendance, and I'm pretty sure the weather had something to do with that. But I mean, there's been on occasion where this game has actually been near sellouts, and yes, it was Boise State playing during those games. But I mean, even when they weren't, 2008 Maryland, Nevada had a pretty damn good crowd, 27,000. Miami versus Nevada had 28,000.
didn't last year? Wasn't last year Buffalo San Diego State have a decent attendance?
San Diego State Buffalo actually was a little bit lower. It was 21,951, but 2012 Utah State had 29,243. So it just depends on who's playing in the game.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else to add to these bowl games for the first four?
Not that I could think of, no.
No.
All right. We'll wrap that up then. Check us out, mwcconnection.com, where there will be no dropouts of me talking when you're reading something, unless I can somehow make that happen. Think I could?
Oh yeah.
Anything's possible. Maybe I'll do something along that if I have the time. But yeah, check us out there. iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Again, give us 5-star rating, but tell us we suck. That we don't care. 5 stars is what helps us out to get people to listen. But listen to the show, comment, feedback. We appreciate everyone who listens and reads our stuff. So we'll have our bowl preview for the San Diego State playing. Who are the Aztecs playing again? Navy.
Maybe.
Actually, the other teams, and then also Rice versus Fresno State and Hawaii. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.